The year is 2026, and the enterprise AI landscape has completely fractured into two opposing realities. On one side, organizations are capturing exponential market value. On the other, they are incinerating capital on ungoverned, failing experiments. We are at a hard inflection point. The experimental phase is dead. What remains is a high-stakes arena of production-grade deployments where strict governance dictates survival. In this explainer, we're executing a rigorous reality check. We'll be analyzing the exact mechanisms, structural debts, and hard return on investment metrics that separate the market leaders from the canceled projects.
First, we have to grasp the sheer massive scale of market adoption, 40%. By the end of 2026, Gartner forecasts that 40% of all enterprise applications will embed task-specific AI agents. To really understand the velocity of this shift, consider that this number was under 5% just a year ago in 2025. We've officially crossed the threshold from isolated pilots to full, production-grade deployments. With the global AI agents market projected to reach up to $12.06 billion this year, 88% of organizations are now utilizing AI in at least one function. The market is aggressively scaling.
But we have to immediately juxtapose that massive growth with a truly alarming reality from Gartner. Over 40% of agentic AI projects are currently at risk of cancellation by 2027. We're witnessing massive FOMO-driven investment colliding straight into heavy failure rates. Why are they failing? Escalating costs, ambiguous business value, and wholly inadequate risk controls. This establishes the core conflict of the 2026 landscape. The challenge is no longer just accessing or deploying AI. The real challenge is governing it and extracting a measurable return on investment before the project collapses under its own structural debt.
Section 1. Where the ROI actually lives. A deep dive analytical postmortem.
We need a rigorous, data-dense breakdown to understand precisely where enterprises are successfully extracting value and conversely where they're just blindly burning capital. The gap between deployment and value capture is immense, with McKinsey reporting that only 6% of organizations qualify as true AI high performers. Notice the stark contrast in departmental adoption data. IT operations leads the pack at over 65%, closely followed by customer service at over 58%. But look down at the bottom of the table. Legal lags significantly at just 22%. This brilliantly illustrates exactly where AI succeeds today. High-volume, measurable functions with clear operational metrics adopt and scale first. Customer service agents are seeing up to a 30% reduction in support operating costs, with Salesforce handling around 32,000 conversations a week autonomously. But in compliance-heavy domains like legal or regulated finance workflows, friction remains intensely high because humans must remain the final approver.
The scale of what is being automated goes far beyond internal tasks. By 2028, AI agents are projected to intermediate more than $15 trillion in business-to-business spending. We are talking about astronomical economic forces completely reshaping global procurement, commerce, and sales operations. The projections show that AI agents will outnumber human sellers 10-to-1, and one-third of user experiences will shift entirely from native applications to agentic front ends. This isn't just a software update, it's a fundamental rewiring of corporate commerce.
The absolute crucial point here is understanding the return on these massive capital allocations. The data exposes a brutal information asymmetry in the market. According to IDC and Microsoft, the average return per $1 invested in generative AI sits at 3.7x. But look at the second bar. The top cohort of AI leaders is seeing a 10.3x return on that exact same dollar. The true story of 2026 is this massive gap between the median performance and the leader cohort.
To understand exactly why those leaders are capturing 10x returns, we have to examine system architecture. The single-purpose agent model is rapidly becoming outdated. While single-agent systems held a 59.24% market share in 2025 due to their simplicity, they're hitting a strict operational ceiling. Contrast that with multi-agent systems where specialized agents collaborate under central coordination. This architecture is expanding at a massive 48.5% compound annual growth rate through 2030. Leaders are abandoning isolated chatbots to build interconnected, centrally governed ecosystems.
Section 2. The hidden friction and structural debts, why projects fail in 2026.
Relying entirely on factual data, we must look at the unmentioned architectural debts that are causing these cascading structural failure points. First up, 52% of organizations cite data quality as their absolute biggest blocker to deployment. If your data foundation is fractured, your AI output is fundamentally broken. It's really that simple. Second,
We saw a staggering $2.1 billion in regulatory AI misuse fines issued globally in 2025. That's a seven-fold increase from 2023. The root cause of this financial bleed is completely clear. Only 21% of organizations possess a mature autonomous governance model. Scaling AI without mature governance is mathematically equivalent to scaling your corporate liability.
These figures illustrate the specific operational frictions keeping CIOs awake right now. 76% point to data privacy and security as their primary concern. 71% are fighting AI hallucinations and accuracy issues. 64% are constrained by regulatory compliance, and 52% fear intellectual property risks. And these are not theoretical anxieties. Gartner projects a stark reality. By 2028, 25% of all enterprise breaches will be traced directly to AI agent abuse.
Beyond the technical debt, we have to address a severe systemic human variable. 90% of organizations are facing a critical AI skills shortage right now in 2026. We're tracking a 74% year-over-year growth in demand for AI and machine learning engineers. This specific human capital bottleneck is placing $5.5 trillion of AI-related economic value at severe risk of delayed implementation. You can allocate the budget for the compute, absolutely, but if you cannot hire the talent to govern the models, your deployment halts entirely.
Section 3. Tactical Action Plan and System Gates, a framework for ROI-positive production.
Shifting operations from FOMO-driven experimentation to governed production requires sequential, data-derived system gates. With IBM data showing 64% of CEOs acknowledging that fear of missing out drives their AI investments, it's critical to replace that panic with strict milestones. 1. Production over pilots. The experimentation phase is over. 2. Governance determines survival. Real-time monitoring and kill switches are mandatory to avoid the 2027 cancellation wave. 3. Start where ROI is clearest. Target high-volume areas like customer service first. 4. Data readiness is non-negotiable. IDC predicts a 15% productivity loss by 2027 for companies failing to establish data foundations. And 5. Vertical over horizontal. Domain-specific vertical AI agents are growing at a massive 62.7% compound annual growth rate. They are vastly outperforming general models because they're scoped to know one specific business deeply.
I want to underscore the intense urgency of this tactical shift. With 60% of large enterprises already in production-level deployments, the competitive window for early mover advantage is rapidly closing. The default assumption for your executive team in 2026 must be that your competitors are already deploying and scaling, not just running isolated pilots. If your organizational posture doesn't match that reality, you're steadily losing ground.
Which leaves us strictly evaluating the true trajectory of your internal architecture. Are you building a governed vertical agent or a general-purpose liability? The data converges on one absolute truth for 2026. The companies winning this cycle are moving deliberately, insisting on production-grade governance and deploying highly specific vertical agents. Those rushing to deploy ungoverned, general AI are building nothing but structural debt. The technology is proven. The deciding factor for your enterprise is now governance. V. Packaging blueprint. Thumbnail text hook. 40% will fail. Thumbnail visual concept. A minimalist, high-contrast layout, pitch black background with a single sharp, high-end focal element. A glowing, shattered server rack or a fractured AI neural node rendered in stark neon red and corporate blue. Key graphic assets. 1. A sleek semi-transparent numeric counter overlay for the $15 trillion B2B spending's intermediate projection to visualize massive market scale during slide 6. 2. A sharp, red-tinted warning graphic or gauge for the 90% critical AI skill shortage statistic to overlay on slide 12, visualizing the severe human capital bottleneck.